Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LA Confidential Podcast. My name is Aaron, and I'm joined here by my brother Aiden and my father Christopher. How are y'all doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm glad we made it.
Yeah,
we
just the three of us today, nobody else?
No, nobody else. But we may in the future have a surprise guest joining us. Not today.
Surprise guest.
Not today. Pretty soon. He's out of this world.
Yeah, he definitely is out of this world. Okay, we're in Auckland, New Zealand. And this week we had some pretty spectacular experiences. I would say that winter is on its way. It got very rainy, but we didn't let that stop us. And we went and had a very authentic native experience. Plus, we went to the Sky Tower.
Sky Tower was incredible. Nice view of the city. Lots of nice people at the top. And honestly, it's just a really cool experience altogether. And best of all, you go downtown to see the needle, that's not going to be the only needle you see.
It's not called a needle, it's called the Sky Tower.
It's not the only needle you're going to see that day.
Okay, all right. I think we said that last week.
Hey,
Yes.
you know, there was some people on the street that decided to throw a can at us.
They missed.
They missed
Yeah.
by a long shot because they were high. And,
oh, well.
you know,
And that's really, the only place that you really see people who are, on the streets is right around that area.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It just also happens to be where all the tourists go. I have no idea
It's
why.
like Portland, Auckland.
Yeah,
Portland.
Basically,
Oh my God.
the whole city is really nice. You go into the suburbs, you go into the downtown of the city, you go to the harbor. That's like 90% of the city right there. Well, most of it is the suburbs, of course. But you'll see no homeless people. It'll be really nice and clean with the very sparse occasion of like maybe a couple of people here and there. But then you go to the needle, and
It's not
everywhere.
called the needle.
It's a Sky Tower.
The Sky Tower.
The Sky
You go to the Sky
Tower.
Tower. All around there. They like congregate. It's like where they do their secret meetings.
No,
they wear
it's a
hoods, too.
construction site too because they're building the new train there. But we should talk about the Sky Tower because it is the building that everyone recognizes when they see Auckland. It's got, you see the buildings and then you see the Sky Tower, and you can go to the top of that thing. It is one of the tallest buildings in the world, and you can get a really great view. We will post pictures. And the reason that we didn't get a great view is because it was raining when we went to the top of it.
Yeah.
But you can also bungee jump from there,
True.
which is insane. I don't think I would do that.
I would do
No, I would never bungee jump from that building. But it's taller than, the Eiffel Tower. And it's it's definitely safer than bungee jumping off the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah,
This is funny.
I would never do
I
that.
thought it was way taller. When you look at it from the skyline, it looks super tall. Maybe it's just because the buildings around it are really short. But it is just a couple. It's like 200 feet taller than the Eiffel Tower, which, in the grand scheme of things, is not that much actually.
Yeah, it's about the same size as the Fernsehturm in Berlin.
Yeah.
Fernsehturm.
Yeah.
So that was very surprising to me.
Yes.
I thought the Eiffel Tower was way shorter, but maybe it's just because of the old architecture style.
It's definitely worth going to. I mean, you have to visit the wharf if you go to Auckland, and then you have to go see the Sky Tower to get a really nice view. But my recommendation is to go on a day with really nice weather.
Yes.
Don't go when it's raining. We went when it was raining. It was not that great.
No.
Yeah, but we were able to see some interesting things while we were waiting for our pizza because we got pizza again
Because
that
that's
day.
where Hell Pizza is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's right where Hell Pizza is. There's a lot of different stuff that's nearby, even though it's not a great part of town. We got to see, so right next to the All Blacks experience, which we talked about last week, we were
The week
able
before
to,
last, actually.
yeah, we were able to visit. There's this other experience called the Weta Workshop experience.
Yeah. We actually didn't go in there. I think we're going to go in there next week. But this is where these guys are the ones that did Lord of the Rings, all of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. All 5 of them,
Yeah.
however many they did.
So you can actually go into like their shop and you can buy a bunch of Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yes.
But they also have life-size Lord of the Rings characters. I didn't believe it because I thought it was just going to be, some goofy kids thing. But it actually has like life-size Lord of the Ring characters just there.
If
and
you're
it's
a
quite
hardcore
amazing.
fan, this is the place to go.
Yeah.
We'll probably have more on that next week.
Yeah.
We went on an Indigenous tour, and it was great, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But one of the things that our guide Dane said was he took us on a tour of his old neighborhood, was that right on the end of the street, his neighbor was the the chief orc in Lord of the Rings. He was the main orc.
And he was also a James Bond villain.
Yes.
Yes.
He was, right. And there he was in his workshop just working away. And it's just the craziest thing, you go to New Zealand and you meet orcs.
I think I've met more actors, or sorry. I think,
extras,
let me say this, let me rephrase that. I think I've gotten close to more actors and extras in New Zealand than in Los Angeles. Because in Los Angeles, the big stars, they're very secluded.
Okay, so we also had this tour, that basically showed us a lot of the Maori sites. Auckland is home to a Maori tribe, and Mount Eden is actually a volcano, dormant volcano, where they lived. And we got a chance to walk there and hear from Dane about the indigenous perspective of how the city was founded and how they interacted with the Europeans when they came and what's happened with them now. What were your impressions?
I found it very interesting, the history of it, because I always thought that it was similar to Australia, where they were there for thousands and thousands of years. But actually, the natives to New Zealand are Tahitian, and they came fairly recently, relatively speaking.
Yeah, right.
And so he was telling us about, so his great his ancestors were from Tahiti. I think it's one of the islands in French Polynesia.
Yes, Tahiti.
Tahiti, sorry.
Tahiti.
Okay.
You're calling them Tahiti.
Why did I say Tahiti?
Yeah, you're thinking of Tahina pitas.
Yeah, I was thinking of food, Aaron.
Oh, man. I want to go back to Cyprus.
Apparently, originally, they all came from Taiwan. That was like the origin
That was before
point,
Tahiti.
Like
okay.
way back.
So this has to do with more genetics.
Yeah.
So technically, they all came from Formosa, which is Taiwan.
Yeah.
And that's where all of the Polynesian languages also are derived from. The highest variety of Polynesian languages is in Formosa, even though it is, mostly Chinese now. All of the indigenous people to Taiwan speak a language that is similar to the languages spoken in Tahiti, Hawaii, Fiji, Solomon Islands, Cook Islands, French Polynesia, and of course, New Zealand.
What would we do without you, Aaron?
Tahiti is part of French Polynesia.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Okay, so they all came here
yes.
in a couple of thousand, not a couple of thousand years ago. They came like in
hundreds of years ago, actually.
A 9th and 10th century, I want to say.
Yeah, I believe it's 1300s. That was the date.
So relatively speaking, that's actually not too long ago.
Okay, all right. But they were here first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then,
so
he was telling us about how the relations between the tribes were, where they would reconquer over each other, and they would do hand-to-hand combat to, I guess, take over.
Settle their differences.
Settle their differences, mostly over land. And so the volcano that we took a tour of here in Auckland actually was the most sought-after land. So it was very consistently being retaken over, and that was all through fighting with hand-to-hand combat. So the men would fight each other, starting at the bottom of the mountain, up to the top, and then eventually they would just take over the hill. It's like it's kind of like King of the Hill.
The interesting anecdote is that if you misbehaved, the higher-ranking people would live closer to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And if you misbehaved, you would get sent down to the bottom
and die.
And you would basically die because in the next attack, you would be the first person they would get.
And another interesting thing another interesting part about this was he was telling us about the relationships between the tribes after the British came and how guns affected that. So the British came over and they first let them govern themselves, and then eventually, after a while, they took over and then they governed the islands. But in between time, when they was still governed by the Maori tribes, but the British were there, the British actually sold guns to some of the tribes, and they used guns to take over the volcano in Auckland. That was the tribe of our tour guide.
Dane is actually an 8th generation direct descendant of Chief Apihai Te Kawau. I know I said that wrong, and I probably shouldn't have even tried. But he had stories that he told us that no one else knows, which was, I thought, really amazing. And so we learned about how his tribe got to be in control of the dormant volcano. And And then for a while, it was the town council of Auckland that was managing the volcano, and now it's his tribe again.
Yeah.
And he took us to his village. He showed us the huge dugout canoe that they use. Unfortunately, not seaworthy anymore, but pretty impressive. And then also the large building where they do all of their ceremonies, which is really, I mean, you just don't get to see that, right? I mean, it's something, and I think personally, I felt very connected to the culture in a way that we would have never been able to do unless we had met him and gone on a walking tour with him.
Mm-hmm. And also through regaining a lot of their old land, his tribe actually has companies and subsidiaries attached to their tribe that is worth $1.6 billion.
Yeah, the economics is really interesting. Yeah. They've made some investments, and they've gone from being not very well off and depending on the government for handouts to being very well off now. And
now they work side by side with the government for most of the
it's
projects.
A much healthier relationship.
Yeah.
I thought that, it's a little bit of a cliche to say no trip to this destination would be complete without, but you really do need to see the Indigenous perspective. And I personally think this is one of our best Indigenous tours we've done. And we've done several. We did an Aboriginal tour when we were in Australia. We've been to luau. We've been to several luaus in Hawaii. And we've seen, when we were in South Africa, we went to Kailicha. So we've done a lot of these. And this was by far one of the top ones that we've done easily.
Well, also can't forget South Dakota. I would actually put that as second to this, because South Dakota, when we were there,
South Dakota was great too.
Yeah, Crazy Horse, and also you'll just see native art and native ambassadors, I guess, in so many different areas in South Dakota. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, Crazy Horse was a wonderful experience, and what they're doing there with that rock is pretty amazing too. And I can't wait to go back and see how much progress they've made too, because it's been years. It's probably been 12 or 13 years since the last time that we were there. We were there twice. Anyway, so that brings us to this week's question, though, and that is, tell us about your last Native experience when you've, or Indigenous experience when you've been on the road, when you've traveled, and how did that affect how you felt about the destination? So sometimes you can go on these Indigenous tours and you feel like you understand the place better. Sometimes you go and you feel angry afterwards. I can see how with some of these tours that we've taken, that afterwards you'd feel really angry for what has happened to these people. And sometimes you just feel enlightened. You feel like you've experienced a different part of the culture that you wouldn't have experienced if you hadn't done this. So I'd love to hear your story. That is our question of the week.
I think that tangential to this, I was thinking about this tour of African American history we did in Alexandria, which was very interesting. And that was not, of course, no one's native. Well, there were natives to Alexandria in Virginia, but that wasn't what the tour was about. But nonetheless, it showed a really interesting perspective on history, especially being that it is so close to the capital of the nation.
Oh yeah, I remember that tour.
Yeah,
that was a very memorable
amazing tour. Yeah.
That tour guide really gave us a much deeper insight than I think any other tour. Because we've actually taken tours about African American history in different cities a couple of other times, but it was definitely
that was a great one. I felt like I was there. I felt like we walked past buildings where they had sold slaves.
I feel like others went easy, kind of.
Yeah,
and he just said, this happened.
Right, yeah. And there was, I think that when you're taking one of these Indigenous tours or Native tours or whatever you want to call them, the key is to, you want people to feel like they should be free to ask questions. And so you want to make them feel comfortable. And I think that our guide, Dane, made us feel very comfortable. And it's the same thing when we were doing the African American history tour, is that the guide that we were with really, he said, ask me anything, I'm not going to be offended. And I thought that was really neat too.
Yeah, I think that's an especially important thing to do with the topics like these. But honestly,
Yeah, very sensitive topics.
Yeah, with sensitive topics. But honestly, we've been on tours that aren't even sensitive topics, and you're made to feel like you should.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be there, right?
Like sometimes it is really a benign tour. Like I think. One of them was we were taking a tour through an animal sanctuary, and
where was that?
I forget. I think it was actually in Florida, because there were a lot of alligators there.
Okay.
But that tour, I can't remember very much about it. One thing I do remember about it, though, is that our tour guide presented himself as, I am the expert on everything you're about to hear, and any question you ask is going to be stupid because you don't know as much as me. That's the type of thing that you don't want people to feel on your tour. Yeah. But it is a problem with most tours we've gone on.
Yeah, it's hard to get a good tour guide. You can, on the one hand, you can get someone like the national park tour types who like to crack jokes. Like everything's a joke, and it's not just a joke, but it's a really corny joke. And then,
like that bark joke that they say so many times.
Yes. And then on the other hand, you get people who know it all and they don't want to even hear from you. You just shut up and wait until the end and ask questions. And then, or not, because I've given you all the information that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, that's...
tours, they're really hard to do right. And I think that in terms of especially this tour, I felt very much as though you were there in history. You were seeing these very meaningful places, and you were seeing exactly where the history was taking place. It wasn't like, oh, well, we're going to be in a bus the next 8 hours. Hope you like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In our last podcast, we asked you to tell us about a time when you visited two cities in the same country and had a radically different experience. And boy, did you have something to say about that. Bob says the two cities in the same country that I found the most different are Cape Town and Johannesburg, South Africa. He says Cape Town is colorful, full of things to do. Joburg is much more urban, but the city is bleak. And other than some historical landmarks, there's not really much to do. And we were in South Africa for 2 months. We did not make it up to Joburg, but the things that we heard about Joburg.
Well, I don't want to go to Joburg.
I actually think we originally wanted to go up to Joburg because it seemed like the next place to go to. Like we wanted to do 1 month in Cape Town and then another month in Joburg. That was our original plan.
And then we heard.
Then everyone said, that is the hood. Do not go there.
Yeah, right.
That is what everyone told us.
Annie says that she doesn't think there's any good kombucha anywhere. We talked about kombucha. Have we had any good kombucha here?
Oh, my goodness. Wait, is she talking about how horrible kombucha is outside of the U.S.? Is that what she's talking about?
She says that there's no good kombucha anywhere.
What? Okay, no. Okay.
She's just a kombucha hater.
If she's a...
I told her, okay.
Calm down, everybody. Calm down. Let's calm down for a second. I think she's probably just American. And she's like, the American...
Sir, calm down.
Calm down, sir.
Sir, calm down,
sir. I think she's probably American, and it's just like
she is.
Good. So she's probably like the only good kombuchas in America. And first of all, what's her name again?
No. Her name is Annie.
Okay, Annie, I completely agree with you. The only really truly superb kombucha is from the U.S. But if you want to get like nearly as good, the only country that comes close is New Zealand.
I told Annie in the comments that she needs to go to Alaska and try the Cherry Arctic Brewster.
Oh my goodness.
That is good. The best kombucha that I've ever had. Tim says countries with totally different cities: Poland, Warsaw, and Krakow. Check. I can agree with that. Austria, Vienna, and Salzburg. Yeah, totally. I mean, Salzburg is like the small town compared to Vienna. Italy, Venice, and Rome. Yeah, right. True all.
I don't remember much about Venice and Rome because the last time we were there, I think I was like 7.
Yeah, you were a little kid, but I've been to all these places, and I can tell you that they are very different too. And Tim adds, what is the food item Aaron seems enthused about? What was the food item that you were enthused about? Aaron,
I'm confused.
In the last podcast.
What food will we have
what food? You were probably talking about tahina pias again.
No, I wasn't talking about tahina pias.
Yeah, you were.
No. Like there was we must have been talking about the kumara bread.
Oh, the kumara bread here is good. What is the place that they serve it?
Amano.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
What is the kumara bread?
It's the sweet potato bread.
Oh,
It's got that delightful crust. Okay, anyway.
Don't say delightful.
It's delightful.
Don't say delightful.
It's very
You don't
good.
ever say delightful. Don't say that. Sounds weird coming from your mouth.
Sam says, United Arab Emirates. Dubai is all glitz and razzle dazzle. It's like as if Liberace and Elton John became cities. And then down the road, you have Abu Dhabi on the Corniche, quieter, peaceful, refined elegance.
Abu Dhabi. If you want to have like a spa vacation, go there during the winter so it's not too hot. But it is actually really calm in Abu Dhabi. And you still get all the luxury that you get in Dubai, but it's just a lot calmer. Mm-hmm. The only part that's not calm is the world's fastest roller coaster, but you can just skip that.
Yeah, but that's just the thing with Dubai is that Corniche, I totally agree. I remember going to that Corniche, walking there 7 p.m., and they're closing the Corniche, don't go near the water. Which is like, no one's there. You can go out in the middle of the night, totally clean, totally safe. Abu Dhabi, the Corniche.
Which Corniche?
Corniche is like the area right by the beach.
Waterfront, yeah.
Waterfront.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was allowed there because I was...
you were our old COVID baby.
Yeah. No, I did take one walk with you guys.
Oh, that's right. That was also in Abu Dhabi.
That happened there.
We were far away from anything
If you're going to get quarantined, that's the place to do it.
Yeah.
Maria says, Kia ora. She's been to New Zealand 7 times in her life. Wow, that's a record. Auckland usually was just a drop-off for me to travel north or south. And it's a fast, younger generation city as I see it. I mostly preferred to take the ferry to Davenport and spend a day on the island. She says, Christchurch, on the flip side, is my all-time relaxed, laid-back city where I can sit on a bench in a park and enjoy people watching. The most exciting thing I've done in Christchurch is a tram ride. You know what? I loved Christchurch.
Yeah. Christchurch is fun. Christchurch is a great little town.
Yeah, I would go back.
Yeah, and they have good food there, and it's peaceful and calm, and they've got like the best botanical gardens
ever.
I like walk. Yeah. My favorite thing was walking there just like at 9 or whatever, just after the sunset, because it looks so surreal there, and they don't put on any lights in the botanical gardens.
Yes.
So it's completely safe, but it's so dark. It's
scary
unbelievable.
Too. Yeah, I would go back to Christchurch like for 3 months, because you can do 3 months without a visa. November, December, and January, and just chill. Well, it's a good place to go chill and have a nice summer.
I'm always confused when you guys say without visa. You mean visa on arrival.
Right, you just do
because with New Zealand you have to get an ETA, which is a special sort of pre-visa. Right. So you get a visa on arrival, but they want your information, and if you don't get the pre-visa, then you're going to be freaking out once you get
beforehand. Yeah.
Once you check in, because it'll be like, oh, the immigrations people say that they're blocking you.
And also, every time we say without visa, we mean visa on arrival. They always have to give you a visa.
We have so many more comments. Don't forget to read the comments from last week's podcast because they're awesome. We don't have time to read all of them, but I responded to them and they're really good. This week's question is, what is your most memorable Indigenous experience at a destination? So whether you've done a luau in Hawaii or a tour of Kailicha in Cape Town, South Africa, we want to hear about it from you. Please leave a comment. We will read your comments in the next podcast.
Well, it's been real, guys, but I'm afraid that our time's run out.
It has, yes.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Elliott Confidential podcast. We will see you next week. We've got a lot of stuff going on next week, and I think that this time next week we might be on a plane, actually.
We will not announce our next destination until then, but we are not going to be. This is our last week here, so we're going to be somewhere else.
Actually, next week we will be here.
Yeah, we will.
Anyway, we'll see you next week. If we do anything interesting, we'll make sure to notify you.
Yes, we'll
interact in the comments and tell us interesting stuff.
Watch the social media, watch our Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's nice being with you today.
You guys may be seeing some changes to the podcast in the future. I'm taking a podcast course,
Oh, yeah. You're taking a podcasting class at the University of Florida.
I'm basically an expert already, so.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I think it's funny because you know you're basically submitting the podcast that I edit and that Dad spearheads as your own, and you're just like a
Literally
guest.
stop. Literally stop. You're
Wow,
embarrassing
you
me.
know,
Oh my
this
god.
is great. Yeah.
I'm
You're
ratting you
welcome.
out.
No, wait.
You're
First
welcome.
of all, in my defense, I edited the first couple of podcasts.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
I don't remember.
I did. And
I
also,
have no recollection.
editing YouTube videos is harder than editing podcasts.
Oh, okay.
And also, if I wanted to, I could make thumbnails for these podcasts if I wanted to. I just don't.
I made a really good thumbnail for
that was a
Dad's
good
video
thumbnail,
that didn't end up getting published. But
yeah,
I think
it didn't get in getting published
but
for a
But
reason.
the next one is
Because it
going
was
to get
so bad.
The next one's getting published. The next one's
Okay,
going
good.
out. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Whatever lets you sleep at night, guys.
We're out of here, guys. Nice talking with you.
Goodbye,
Thank you for
guys.
joining us.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys. Peace. Bye-bye.